New game. Loading in progress. To listen to the screen reader tutorial, press the V button on the keyboard, the X button on the Xbox controller, or the square button on the PlayStation controller. Otherwise press the A button, Xbox, the X button, PlayStation, or enter to continue. There was a country, let's call it Russia. We have a saying in Russia that goes like this: there is no winter in the kingdom of hope. And believe me, it's less than 10 degrees all year round here. My name is Mariska. I know the world, from Hungary to Kamchatka. I know it because I transport goods in my truck, the Firebird. I hardly earn a living, I just manage to survive. On good days I can set a little aside, but on bad days I have barely enough to pay for gas. Maybe one day I can leave the kingdom of winter and finally find a bit of hope. Maybe today is that day. Andrei says. No. We like you, Mariska, we really do. But the answer is NYET. The rules are the same for everyone, you don't leave the cry without repaying Turguin. Mariska says. I paid him back. Andrei says. You paid him back for the truck itself, sure. But there's still the interest. Choice phase. Option 1, how did you? Option 2, come on then, when are you going to rough me up? Option 1, how did you find me? Mariska says. How did you find me? A GPS tracker hidden under the truck. Andrei says. No, we just waited here. There's only one road heading south out of Zavodsk. And you're not going to risk going off-road in that old rust bucket of yours. Mariska says. Hey, leave the Firebird out of this. Option 1, come on then, when are you going to rough me up? Come on then, when are you going to rough me up? Andrei says. I said we like you, Mariska. Don't be like that. Mariska says. Why did you tie me up then? Andrei says. Turguin said, tie her up and make sure she doesn't do this again. We're just following orders. Option 1, fine, I get it. I'll go back to Zavodsk. Selecting this option will block the other options from being selected. The pair exchange a smirk as they set you free. Your legs tingle as the blood rushes back into them. The Firebird awaits you in the darkness of the frozen night. Andrei says. We searched your truck, you understand. Game paused. Set, restore default. Graphics. Sound. Controls. Accessibility. Accessibility. Screen reader, yes. Bigger, yes. Text, settings. Resume play. Andrei says. No contraband, no hidden passengers. And the hardest drug we found was your coffee thermos. You've earned your reputation as a good little girl. Normally we take our payment in whatever we find, but this time, he continues to stare at you, waiting for something. You know that look. Choice phase. Option. Mariska says. That's all I've got. You really think I'd be here otherwise? Andrei says. If you don't pay me for my work, it'll be your truck. He yanks on your rear bumper with a crowbar, prying it off with a loud screech. Mariska says. Leave my truck alone, what did it ever do to you? Resource info: your truck wears by 1. Deep down you wish it had been you instead of your beloved Firebird. You get into the cab and angrily slam the door. Everything seems to be as you left it. Your radio, your map, your CD. Mariska says. Okay, time to head back to the Kingdom of Winter. When you hear this sound, press the right trigger or the letter M to open the map. You are currently on the map. 1 destinations are currently available. Use the left stick on the controller or the directional arrow buttons on the keyboard to choose your next destination. Sometimes, only 1 destination may be available. Press the A button, Xbox, the X button, PlayStation, or the Enter button to confirm your choice. Press the arrow buttons on the controller or Control and the arrow buttons on the keyboard to view your resources. Press the B button, Xbox, the circle button, PlayStation, or the letter M to close your map. You can listen to this message again by pressing the down arrow on the controller or Control and the down arrow on the keyboard. Opening video. Approximate duration, 15 seconds. Written by Firebird. Tiger. Illustrated by Quinton Viju. Music and sound Frank Weber. Development by Ludogram. Zavodsk Depot. Ivan says. Mariska, there you are. I was waiting for you. Resource info: your fuel reserves diminish by 1. Option 1: I told you I was leaving. Mariska says. You needed me. Ivan looks around furtively, as if worried people might be watching. You get out of your truck so he can speak to you. You couldn't see her from the cab, but Ivan isn't alone. A young girl in traditional rural attire stands next to him. Ivan says. I picked her up off the side of the road last night. I don't know what to do with her, and I really need to go look after my sick mother. Can you look after her for a while? Choice phase. Option 2: You've told her about this at least, right? Ivan says. Told my mom. Mariska says. The girl. Ivan raises an eyebrow and shrugs. Choice phase. Option 1: Look at the girl. Her skin is as fresh as a daisy. Her clothes are traditional, made from pure white fabric. She's far from home. Choice phase. Option 2: I am. Option 1: Do I look like a nanny? Selecting this option will block the other options from being selected. Mariska says. Ivan, do I look like a nanny or a trucker to you? Ivan says. You're Mariska, trucker and owner of the Firebird. Mariska says. Exactly. Ivan says. So, that's a yes. You don't have time to explain your refusal to Ivan. Dmitri is heading straight for you. Dmitri says. Ah, Mariska. Back already. Who'd have thought it? Mariska in trouble with Turguin. Mariska says. Let's talk about this in. Ivan says. Turguin. Mariska says. Private. Dmitri says. She didn't tell you, Ivan. Andrei and Nikolai caught her trying to make a break for it. As you can imagine, Turguin didn't take it very well. At this rate, all of Zavodsk will know by noon. The situation is getting out of hand. Choice phase. Option 2. Let us get down to it. What does he want from me? Dmitri says. You don't go disappearing before you've paid your debts, Mariska. Prove to Turguin that you're serious about paying him back. Find a big contract. Equal to a few deliveries, at least. If you don't get some work soon, he'll have you finish paying him back some other way. Mariska says. He wants to sell my organs or something. My lungs can't be worth a lot, given how much I've smoked. Dmitri says. The Firebird should be enough. Mariska says. You can't do that. Dmitri says. Of course we can. You should know better than anyone that our trucks are worth more than our people. Mariska says. But I've already paid most of it off. And I need it to work. I won't be able to pay Turguin back at all without it. Dmitri sneers and gets back to. But the message is clear, you have to find a contract, and fast. Ivan says. Good luck, Mariska. My mom needs me, I have to go take care of her. Ivan runs to his truck and drives off. Mariska says. There you go, kid. The end of my miserable career. Says. I can get you a job. You start in surprise, it's the first time you've heard her speak. She has a job. Scarcely able to believe it, you walk behind the Firebird with the young girl, out of sight of any prying eyes. Mariska says. So, tell me everything. Choice phase. Option 2. Where do you want to go? Says. To my village, far to the north. Choice phase. Option 2. How far? Says. Quite far. Mariska says. You start pessimistically estimating fuel costs. Option 2. Does this village have a name? Says. We just call it the village. Sounds like some podunk town in the middle of nowhere. Mariska says. Is there a road that goes to this village? Says. Yes, that's how I got here. Choice phase. Mariska says. What do you want to haul? Says. Food. Okay, that seems legal at least. Option 1. You got any money? She hands you some crumpled bills. Wow, it's a pittance, barely enough to pay for gas to the next town. Choice. Option 1. Is that all you've got? She looks at you and nods sadly. Mariska says. You know I'm trying to earn a living here, right? This isn't even enough to cover the fuel it would take to get to your village. Her eyes fill. Choice phase. Mariska says. Do you have any family who could help? Says. The village is my only family. Mariska says. Choice phase. Option 1. Is there gas in your village? Says. I don't know. Mariska says. How do they keep themselves warm? With wood. Do they have electric? She looks at you tearfully. Choice phase. Mariska says. Your village doesn't have a bigger budget. Says. What do you mean? Mariska says. More money. You want food for your village. I want food for Mariska. And for the Firebird too. Says. We could give you some pelts. Choice phase. Option 1. Pelts. What? Says. Bear. Well. Now those are valuable. But also illegal. They might be illegal, but a part of you starts counting what those pelts could get you in your head. says. White tiger. Mariska says. What? Says. They're huge, ferocious beasts that can devour even the most seasoned hunter. And they're white as snow. Mariska says. No, but I know what they are. Now that's very, very illegal. It's big trouble. But it's also the only way to quickly pay off your debt and regain your freedom. Choice option 1. Okay, I'll take the pelts. Select. The young girl's face brightens. Mariska says. Don't tell anyone about them. Don't even mention the word pelts. Say ah. The girl nods. Mariska says. I'm. Vasilisa says. I'm Vasilisa. Looks like you have a new customer. Choice phase. Mariska says. Where's the cargo we're moving? Vasilisa says. I don't have it yet. Is there a market nearby? A shadow crosses your face. You realize you won't be leaving anytime soon. When you hear this sound, press the right trigger or the letter M to open the map. Map opened. Meat market. A large market open to the freezing winds. There's almost no one here at this early hour. You walk to the covered stands. The girl doesn't seem to feel the cold. Vasilisa says. They sell food here. Mariska says. Yes, and they don't even need freezers to keep it cold. Option 1. Look at the stalls. The meat is frozen solid. But these are large cuts ready for butchering. You'll need it on pallets. Vasilisa says. Is that really edible? Choice phase. Mariska says. What do you eat in your village? Pinecones. Vasilisa says. Animal-shaped animals. Mariska says. Animal-shaped animals are prettier to look at. Option 1. Get a merchant's attention. Selecting this option will block. Says. Mariska. My favorite trucker. You turn and immediately recognize the speaker. Mariska says. What luck to see you here so early, Turguin. Turguin says. How unlucky you always are, Mariska. I've just given a very, very interesting job to our good friend Ivan. What about you? How goes your prospecting? Rumor has it you've given up on paying me back. Choice phase. Option 1. I've already paid you more than the price of the truck itself. Mariska says. Turguin says. That's generally how a loan works. You glower at him. Turguin says. There is a thin line between success and failure, Mariska. You should step out of your comfort zone. A resourceful girl like you. Choice phase. Option 1. Mariska says. What this contract of Ivan's? Turguin says. Food for a luxury hotel. He's going southeast, where it's warm. Food. Home. Choice phase. Mariska says. I'd like to know where to find Ivan's family. Turguin says. And why should I talk about the private life of one of my men? Choice phase. Option 1. He asked me to check up on his mother. And since he's already left. Turguin says. True. He told me things weren't good. That's why I gave him this contract. Mariska says. My goodness, is that a heart beating behind those fatty walls? Turguin says. Don't spread it around, my reputation would be ruined. Mariska says. So, where's his mother? Turguin says. I'm going to need a favor. Mariska says. What do you think I am, a delivery boy? Turguin says. Just a small favor. Choice option 1. Mariska says. What do you want in exchange? Turguin holds out a sealed leather bag. Turguin says. Give this to Dimitri. Don't open it. If you open it, or lose it, you'll soon find out why all your fellows obey me like they do. You take the leather bag. Turguin says. And hurry up and find a contract. A lucrative one. Mariska says. With this girl's business, you'll soon be repaid. I promise. When you hear this sound, press the right trigger or the letter M to open the map. Map opened. Zavodsk Depot. You enter the depot where the Firebird is usually parked. Back where you started. Choice option 3. Give the bag to Dimitri. Selecting this option will block the other options from being selected. Mariska says. Dimitri. Come here. Dimitri stops his game of Durek and joins you in a corner of the depot. Dimitri says. What do you want? You hold out the bag. Dimitri takes it, looking at it suspiciously. Dimitri says. You didn't open it, did you? Mariska says. What do you take me for, a thief? Now it's up to Turguin to keep up his end of the bargain. When you hear this sound, map opened. Meat market. A large market open to the freezing winds. Turguin option. Mariska says. I gave the bag to Dimitri. Turguin says. Ivan's family lives at 27 Zavodskaya, a big apartment complex. Mariska says. Quick to keep up your side of the bargain. Turguin says. An excellent quality in business dealings. Maybe you should learn from my example. When you hear this sound, press the right 27 Zavodskaya. You drive next to a huge concrete building ravaged by the cold. It's depressing. Ivan's truck, the Grey Wolf, is parked in front of the entrance to #27. Choice phase. You climb the concrete steps where the cold penetrates like an invisible snake. You stop in front of the door to Ivan's family's flat and knock. Ivan says. Mariska. What are you doing here? Choice phase. Option 1. The contract Turguin gave you. I want it. Ivan says. Mariska, I need this contract. Option 1. The girl's village needs food. I'm going to take the rations from your contract and give them to the village. Ivan says. No. Turguin will flay you alive. And these rations belong to a big client. This is serious. Choice phase. Option 1. You can just say it was stolen. Ivan says. If I do this, this'll be my last contract. Mariska says. No, it won't. I'll give you mine. Choice phase. Option 2. What are you still doing here? Selecting this, Ivan says. Yes. My mother isn't well. I'm worried. I came to check on her before I leave. You look over his shoulder. The bed has been pulled into the center of the room, which is pierced by a narrow draft of icy air. You hear her coughing. Ivan says, I'll put her in my truck, and we'll go to Moscow when the contract is complete. Maybe even somewhere else. That's why I need the money. Choice phase. Option 2. What's wrong with your mother? Ivan says, the illness that everyone here gets eventually, with that huge open pit mine. You remain silent. You know everyone gets sick, that's the price of survival here. Vasilisa says, can I see her? Ivan says, she speaks. Option 1. Vasilisa, leave Ivan and his family alone. Mariska says, this child won't harm your mother, Ivan. Perhaps some of her youth might rub off on the old woman. The apartment is filled with a moist, musty smell. Even the Firebird's cab seems more cheery than this. Vasilisa approaches the old woman and looks at her solemnly. The coughing seems to subside at her touch. Or perhaps it's your imagination. Vasilisa opens the cupboards and inspects their contents. Vasilisa says, I can heal her. But I need some sage. Ivan says, are you going to tell me who this girl is? Mariska says, my customer. Ivan says, there's no sage here. Vasilisa says, let's go find some sage then. Choice phase. Mariska says, we're going, Ivan. Maybe we'll come back later. You take care to avoid slipping on the stairs as you leave the building. When you map opened. Meat market. A large market open to the wind and the cold. Choice phase. There's a merchant selling dried herbs. Mariska says, we're looking for some sage. Vasilisa says, you smile at the merchant. He tears off a leaf and holds it out to you. When you hear this sound, map opened. 27 Zavodskaya. Choice phase. Option 2. Enter #27. Selecting this option will block the other options from being selected. Vasilisa cracks an egg into a bowl and mixes it with oil, sage, and honey. Ivan says, what are you making there? A cake. Vasilisa opens Ivan's mother's night dress. She applies the poultice and speaks words in an unknown tongue. Ivan says, Mariska, I don't like all this. Mother says, Ivan, be quiet, I feel better already. Ivan says, what? You can speak again. Mother says. Ivan says, it's fine, Mama, don't lift a finger. He kneels at her bedside. Vasilisa washes her hands. She has a strange, mystical aura about her. Choice phase. Mariska says, Ivan. Your cargo. Ivan says, take it. But don't forget that you owe me some contracts if I ever get in trouble. Mariska says, yeah. Ivan says, I won't be able to protect you if Tuguin gets hold of you. Mariska says, I don't need anyone, Ivan. You leave the apartment and open up the Grey Wolf. Using a forklift, it takes you just a few minutes to move the cargo into the Firebird. Mariska says, well, we got the food. Let's get going. Vasilisa. When you hear this sound, press the right trigger or the letter M to animation of a driving truck. Farewell Zavodsk. May you quietly freeze in silent desolation. Vasilisa says. There are good people there. Mariska says. You can tell me that again when you've met at least one. Vasilisa says. I met you. Mariska says. I'd like to be a good person. Come on, let's go. Vasilisa says. The desire to be a good person is what makes good people good. Your heart is heavy from a past that I'll never know. But the past is only half of existence. Mariska says. Don't be so optimistic. The chill in Zavodsk doesn't come from the frosty wind, but from the ice of our frozen hearts. Animation of a driving truck. Roadblock. There's a barrier across the road. A checkpoint. Resource option 1. You stop in front of the barrier. A guard comes out from a small, heated cabin. Guard says. Privet. Where are you going? Mariska says. What's going on? Is it not still Russia on the other side of the barrier? Guard says. It's certainly not the cry anymore. So yes, it's a bit like another country. Are you lost? Mariska says. No, we need to go north. Guard says. So, you know where you're going. Good. And why are you traveling north? Choice phase. Option 2. I am delivering food for my employer. Guard says. Oh. Why didn't you say so? He heads to the back of your truck to double-check your cargo. Guard says. What is your destination? Option 1. Due north. They have a base along the side of the road. Option 1. Due north. They have a base along the side of the road. Guard says. Noted. Be careful. Safe travels. He lets you through. You mutter to yourself. Vasilisa says. That went fine, didn't it? Mariska says. I said too much. Toguin is gonna show up, and that guy will spill everything. You continue driving. When you hear this sound, map opened. Animation of a driving truck. Vasilisa says. You don't like silence. Mariska says. Not as much as I like the frozen brains. Vasilisa says. The what? Mariska says. Vasilisa, I forgive you for your antique rubbles and your old wives' tales. But the frozen brains are sacred. Everyone here worships them. Vasilisa says. I don't want to insult your beliefs, I'm very sorry. Mariska says. As penance, now you have to listen to the entire album. Vasilisa says. There's more. Mariska says. What do you mean, more? We're only on the third song. Open the glove compartment, you'll find everything there. Vasilisa suddenly understands, looking stunned. Vasilisa says. It's just. Everything is so. Like a lingering mist at the start of spring. Mariska says. You should consider becoming a progressive cold wave critic, my girl. You'd be very successful. Animation of a driving truck. Cabin. The pines are tall and block out the sky, but they also protect against the cold. Resource info: your fuel reserves diminish by 1. The Firebird threads between the silent. A dense fog gathers either side of the earthen track. You arrive in a clearing with a small wooden cabin. The road forks here, a tarmacked road to the right, and a track leading to the forest on the left. Mariska says. 2 roads. Which one should we take? Vasilisa says. You sigh. Choice. Option 1, get out and investigate the cabin, selecting this. Option 1, get out and investigate the cabin, selecting this option will block the other options. You approach the cabin, walking across the damp leaves. Everything is quiet. And then a bear comes sauntering out of the hut. It stands on its hind legs and roars. You're terrified. You've had weapons pointed at you before, but this ferocious creature is much more terrifying. Choice phase. Option 1, shout. Option 2, run to the Firebird, selecting this. Option 2, run to the Firebird, selecting this option will block the other options. Option 2, run to the Firebird. You dive into the cab and slam the door shut. On the other side, the bear roars and scratches at the truck. You hide in a corner of the cabin and try to make yourself inconspicuous. Time passes and you don't hear the bear anymore. Vasilisa opens the door. Silhouetted by the sunlight, she looks like an angel as she stands in the doorway. Vasilisa says. It's gone. The misunderstanding has been resolved. Mariska says. What misunderstanding? That it was going to eat me and I didn't agree. Vasilisa says. You were scared of each other. You sigh. The poor cabin is in bad shape, but now you see its purpose. It's an old logging camp. The main road leads to the right. A piece of yellow plastic in the corner of the room. Jerry cans. Your misadventure wasn't in vain. They're mostly full. You've got enough to refuel the Firebird for now. You return to the truck. You continue driving. When you hear this sound, press the right trigger or the letter F. Animation of a driving truck. Mariska says. Are we heading the right way? Where is your village anyway? Vasilisa says. It's north. Mariska says. Russia covers 11 time zones, my dear. North is a little vague. Vasilisa says. Far north. My village is at the end of the last road. Mariska says. You're talking about the middle of nowhere. What is there, apart from white tigers? Vasilisa says. Old gods. Mariska says. Ha. Gods are like politicians. They talk a lot, but they don't do much. Vasilisa says. There's some truth in your words. There's also the aurora borealis. Mariska says. Ah, that's beautiful. One day I'll be rich and go on a fantastic cruise. I'll see the blue waters of the Caribbean and the green of the aurora borealis. Vasilisa says. No need to be rich, you'll see it soon. We see it from my village every night. Mariska says. I want to see it from somewhere warm. Vasilisa says. It's very warm in our house. Mariska says. I want to see it in the midst of luxury. Vasilisa says. You're pure-hearted, Mariska. You don't need money to get what you want, Mariska says. What nonsense. Vasilisa says. I know it's a pointless dream. Such is the curse of being human. You spend your short lives chasing illusions. Animation of a driving truck. Small church. A small wooden church with worn but elaborate architecture, weathered by the centuries, stands on a nearby hill. Resource info. Option 1. Visit the church. You park the Firebird in front of the building. Everything is quiet. The old building seems more like a tomb than a house. You climb the 2 steps to the square in front. Vasilisa says. I can't go in there. Mariska says. Does someone not have a clear conscience? Vasilisa returns to the choice phase. Option cold, silent, still. Option 1. Pray. You cautiously walk towards the chancel. Your eyes grow used to the darkness. The church has been defiled. A decapitated deer head hangs from a chandelier. On the wall opposite the pews someone has used a branch to write a message in animal blood. This is Kosshi's realm. It's a chilling sight. You hurry back outside. You continue driving. When you hear this sound, map opened. Animation of a driving truck. Vasilisa says. There wasn't anything worth having in the church. Mariska says. I didn't go inside in the end. It didn't feel right. I don't want to upset you, but it's been a long time since I believed in any kind of deity. This area was an old residential area in the time of the USSR. There was everything here, houses, factories, shops. The church from earlier was part of it too. You saw the state it's in now. Just like no god has ever come to help me. Vasilisa says. The gods abandoned this land long ago. It was a mistake. Vasilisa continues to speak, but you're not listening. Something is bothering you. Mariska says. I didn't think the road would have so many trees. I think we've taken a wrong turn. Vasilisa says. Is your map out of date? Mariska says. Have some respect, girl. I always have the latest gear. I must have missed a turn during our conversation. I need to get back to the main road. Vasilisa says. Can't we turn around? Mariska says. Without knowing exactly where we went wrong. We might get even more lost. Unfortunately, we're... In any case, for once it's my fault and not that of the good Lord. Your comment makes Vasilisa giggle. You carry on, one eye on the map and the other on the fuel gauge. Resource info. Your fuel reserves diminish by 1. Animation of a driving truck. Ruins. The road passes through a small hamlet with century-old, ruined houses. Resource info. Your fuel reserves diminish by 1. You sip your coffee and cola mix from your thermos. Vasilisa says. Where are the people who lived here? Mariska says. Somewhere warmer, I hope. I know I'm dreaming of hot beaches and tropical blue seas. Vasilisa looks at you intently. Vasilisa says. But then you'd be far away from me. Mariska says. Are you trying to make me cry? We've only known each other a day. And besides, you could come with me. You hear wolves howling. You think you'd better not hang around too long. But there must be some interesting things to be found in these ruins. Choice phase. Option 1, search your surroundings. Mariska says. Vasilisa says. Wolves are dangerous, Mariska. Option 2, trust me, it'll... The howls get closer, and you quickly get back into the cab. Mariska says. I could feel my ancestors shaking with fear. Wolves are terrifying creatures. You start the engine and get back on the road. You continue driving. When you hear this sound, press the right trigger or the animation of a driving truck. Vasilisa says. What about Dimitri's truck? Vasilisa says. Your truck is called the Firebird. So, I was wondering, what is Dimitri's truck called? Mariska says. The Destructor Turbo 3000. Vasilisa says. Is that the name of one of your gods? Mariska says. Yep, the god of good taste. Or virility complexes, I dunno. Vasilisa says. That god must be very young, I've never heard of them. Mariska says. Unfortunately, he's of a certain age. Vasilisa says. Dimitri must love his truck a lot to name it that. Mariska says. Well, a lot of people here like having huge trucks and giving them impressive names. Vasilisa says. Why do they do that? Mariska says. For the same reason Dimitri draws his gun at every Vasilisa says. I don't understand. Mariska says. One day, little girl. One day you'll understand. Vasilisa says. That's what the old women in my village say. Mariska says. Ouch. You know what? Animation of a driving truck. Upper forest. The reddening sun descends towards the horizon. Resource info: your fuel reserves diminish by 1. Vasilisa says. In the north, this time of year, the nights are long and start early. You shake your head. How long has it been since you last slept? Vasilisa says. You should sleep, Mariska. Mariska says. Yes. But Turguin and his thugs might be after us. There should be a gas station up ahead. I think I can hold on. You've seen others. You're sure you can do it? Choice phase. Option 2, continue to the gas station. Selecting this option will block the other options from being. You fell asleep at the wheel, and you hit a rut. Fortunately, it slowed you down before you'd run over a fallen tree. Mariska says. Are you okay, Vasilisa? She nods. Not. Right next to you, you see the lights of the gas station. You're going to make it. The Firebird creaks on towards the light. When you hear this sound, press the right trigger or the letter. Animation of a driving truck. Mariska says. Why don't you tell me how Ivan found you? Vasilisa says. I was walking through the forest in the middle of the night, in the dark. And 2 great stars suddenly cut across my path. They were the lights from his truck. Ivan gestured at me to get in and we drove in silence until we got back to the city. Mariska says. Neither of you spoke. Vasilisa says. He didn't ask me any questions. I think he was praying silently. Mariska says. Ivan. Praying at the wheel. I bet he was praying that his mom would make him some tasty pelmenis. Vasilisa says. I would never have met you without him. How did the gods make you two friends? Mariska says. They threw several bottles of vodka across our path if I'm remembering correctly. Then some headache meds. Ivan then introduced me to Turguin, and that's where all this trouble began. Vasilisa says. Adversity always reveals who our true friends are. Mariska says. And there's no greater adversary than a bottle of vodka. Vasilisa says. I'm too young to drink, we can't be friends for a few more years. Mariska says. You're just a kid but you speak like a grandma. Split the difference and that makes us about the same age. You're right, maybe we could toast with cola coffee. That's an adversary all its own. We'll do that in your village, to celebrate the end of our adventure. Vasilisa says. We'd better hurry. Animation of a driving truck. Gas station. The last light before the eternal darkness of the far north. A gas station flanked by buildings made from shipping containers glows weakly in the night. Resource info: your fuel reserves diminish by 1. A neon sign reading the Polar Star barely illuminates several antique trucks parked out front, the light dying as it reaches the edge of a nearby forest. The gas station is covered in snow, and the lights are out. You park in front of the gas pumps. Choice phase. Option 2: knock on the door. You knock, then pound on the frost-covered door. No response. Mariska says. What do honest people? Choice phase. Option 2: look at the gas pumps. You look near the tanks. There's a padlock. But the key is underneath. What great security! On the other hand, who would steal anything out here? You rest a hand on the padlock. Vasilisa says. The people here that fuel, Mariska. Mariska says. And the village needs my cargo. What do you think about? Vasilisa says. I don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul. Mariska says. Well, that's choice phase. Option 2 go. Option 1 call out. No one responds to your shouts. Mariska says. Are they high? Choice phase. Option 1 go towards the Polar Star. Selecting this option will Map closed. Map opened. Map closed. The neon the Polar Star sign continues to crackle above the shipping container. There are probably people there who could help you. Given how cold it is, you're not going to stand around out here anyway. When you hear this sound, map opened. The Polar Star. A few low-ceilinged shipping containers insulated with sawdust comprise this final bastion of debauchery before the far north. Solitary lumberjacks, a few indigenous people, truckers and even a soldier knock back drinks in silence. All of them stare at a black and white TV, enraptured by a program that it's hardly able to pick up. Vasilisa blushes as their gazes turn to, says. 2 women. It's rare to see women here. Choice phase. Option 1 as rare as generosity out here in the great cold. Select. Mariska says. 2 ordinary customers. He nods. Says, we don't have a lot to do here except listen to the radio. And the radio station in the big city mentioned 2 women that fled with a certain Firebird. Lots of people are looking for them. Something about a theft. Choice phase. Option 1, are the police looking for these women? Option 3, I drive the Firebird. Option 1, are the police looking for these women? Selecting this option will... Mariska says, you shouldn't believe everything you hear on the radio. Says, that's hard to do. It's our only connection with the South. We heard your truck earlier. Everything okay? Nothing broken? Mariska says, yes, don't worry about it. Just normal issues on the road, you understand. The bar regulars look at you disapprove. Says, you should be more careful. Particularly with a child on board. The atmosphere in the bar is tense. You feel like you're not welcome here. Says, and where are you headed? Choice phase. Option 1, we headed straight north. Selecting this option will block the... A soldier lets out an impressed whistle. A man breaks into laughter, while another touches the cross around his neck. Says, I think you're on the wrong road. There's nothing north of here. Vasilisa says, my village is in the north. Says, you're the first person I've ever heard. Choice phase. Option 1, is there a way to get some gas? And option 3, what's with all this superstition? Option 1, is there a way to get some gas and repairs here? Says, is it urgent? Are you going to leave in the night? Says, okay then, go to the gas station and yell for Anatoly. Choice. Option 2, what's? Option 4, go back to the gas station. Select. Mariska says, can I get gas on credit? Says, no. Mariska says, choice phase. Option 2, you know enough. You gulp the last of your drink and grab Vasilisa. It's time for us to go. When you hear this sound, map opened. Gas station. The gas station is covered in snow, and the lights are out. Mariska says, the bartender told us to yell for Anatoly if we needed gas. Choice phase. Option 1, yell for Anatoly. Selecting this option will block the other options from being selected. You hear grumbling. A skinny, bare-chested man stumbles out of the gas station. He looks asleep. Anatoly says, did you come to hear a poem by Anatoly, the cursed artist? Vasilisa says, a poem. Well. Choice. Option 1, did you forget your coat? Anatoly says, your compassion, pithy though it is, warms me enough. I thrive on suffering. I may not be a genius, but through pain and hard work I try to create the requisite conditions for the birth of greatness. Vasilisa says, reaching for the stars is nobler and more beautiful than actually getting there. Anatoly looks at Vasilisa with eyes full of emotion. Anatoly says, don't tell me your name. Because you'll always be an angel to me. Choice phase. Option 1, hey, we need some gas. Anatoly shrugs his shoulders. Anatoly says, all they ever want is... Mariska says, write a poem that can fuel a truck, then you'll be getting somewhere. Anatoly says, your humor is a tiny ember in the eternal night of the frozen north and its rustic residents. He approaches a pump locked with a padlock, but with the key lying just underneath. Anatoly says. Can you pay? Choice phase. Option 1, I have a little money. Mariska says. I have a little money. Anatoly pockets your money and unlocks the pump. He puts a little gas in the Firebird and returns the pump to the holder. Resource info: your fuel reserves grow by 4. Anatoly says. I've added a little extra. Resource info: your truck is restored by 1. Mariska says. All that just so we'll listen to your... Anatoly wipes his hands. Anatoly says. May the lights of the big city be as bright to you as the stars, travelers. Mariska says. Not quite, Pushkin. We're going north. Already white from the cold, Anatoly pales further, looking like a... Anatoly says. The road north is cursed. Mariska says. Have there been Anatoly says. No, but the old gods are there. You've got a crazy one here. Choice phase. Mariska says. Do you know anything about the old gods? Anatoly says. There's an old hermit who lives near here in the forest, at the end of this narrow path. He can talk to birds and trees. Vasilisa says. Anatoly says. Exactly. He knows about the old gods. Mariska says. He talks to birds and trees. I'm not impressed. I can do that too if I drink enough vodka. Vasilisa says. I know the north, but perhaps his help might be useful. When you hear, map opened. Hermit's house. You arrive at the house of the hermit Anatoly told you about. Option 1, go see the hermit. Selecting this option will block the other options from being selected. Far beyond the trunks, you see the yellow eyes of dozens of wolves. Your flashlight seems like a tiny blade cutting through the darkness as it washes over you like a wave. The muddy path leads to a yurt without walls, an orange fire burning inside. Behind the fire is a man dressed in feathers, wearing a huge silver crown studded with pearls. He opens his black-rimmed eyes and exclaims. Hermit says. The Firebird and Vasilisa the Beautiful. Where is Ivan? Mariska says. I hope he's with his mother in Zavodsk. Hermit says. He needs to be here. Because what you call fairy tales, and we call prophecies, are real. Choice phase. Option 2, I don't believe in fairy tales. Option 1, we. You're not alone out here. Mariska says. We. You're not alone out here. Hermit says. There are birds and trees. I see a graceful swan enveloping us with huge wings. Mariska says. Oh, you were talking about the voices in your head. Hermit says. You can hear them too. Mariska says. Oh no, me. I'm not crazy. Choice phase. Option 2. I've heard you know the north. Hermit says. Yes. Choice phase. Option. Mariska says. Do you know a village north of here? The hermit points a bony finger at Hermit says. Yes. They work for the gods. They live for the hunt. They are the guardians. Vasilisa says. Yes, that's right. That's my village. Mariska says. Phew, I'd almost given up. You know how to get to the village. Hermit says. There's only one road to the north. Take it. Turn left when you get to the sea. Mariska says. Okay. Road to the north. Turn left just before the sea. Hermit says. But you won't turn left when the time comes. Mariska says. Believe me, old man, I'll have both eyes wide open. Hermit says. You won't turn left when the time comes. And your eyes will be full of tears. Choice phase. Option 1. And what is this prophecy? Hermit says. The gods of the Slavic people are the oldest in the world. Here I stand on sacred ground that was revered over 10,000 years ago. What are weapons, churches, and icons when faced with creatures that have lurked in the shadows for 10,000 years? There are dark forces rampaging through the north, clearing the way for the return of the primordial gods. In the past, the Firebird, Ivan, and Vasilisa joined forces time after time to triumph over these dark forces and push them back into the shadows. But men stained the northern road red with blood. Many innocent souls were sacrificed in an attempt to civilize the untamed lands. Evil has returned. Your presence here is no accident. Mariska. Choice phase. Is it dangerous in the north? Hermit says. It is Koschei's realm. Mariska says. Should that name mean something to me? Vasilisa says. He's an evil man. Hermit says. And he's trying to extend his power southwards. I've built a barrier to hold him back. You'll need the sacred words to lower it. Choice phase. Mariska says. What are these magic words? Hermit says. Mariska says. Got it. You turn back to your truck. When you hear this sound, map opened. And gateway to the north. Vasilisa says. Oh. Resource info. Vasilisa says. I guess I wasn't paying attention. Choice phase. Option 2. Get back. You take several steps in the snow. Choice phase. Option 2. Look at the monument. The Soviets must have been pretty weird to build this strange monument here. But it's not without its own beauty. A strange pile of wood draws your attention. Option. It's not a pile of wood. It's a pagan altar. A carved totem of a man wearing a wolf skin sits on top of a pile of sapwood. Clumsily written letters read, "Traveler, go no further." Vasilisa says. It's a ritual of great power. Vasilisa says. It's the hermit's work. Option 1. Option 3. By the swan goddess and the black god, barrier, give way. Selecting this option will. Mariska says. By the swan goddess and the black god, barrier. Mariska says. There you go. All. Vasilisa says. Nothing is stupid about respecting the rituals, Mariska. The Firebird continues on its journey to the north. When you hear this, map opened. Animation of a driving truck. Vasilisa says. The people hunting us won't be able to reach us up here. No one dares go this far north. Mariska says. Not even for dangerous criminals like us. Vasilisa says. You don't look very. Mariska says. How rude, but you're right. I'm completely harmless. Vasilisa says. When we first met each other, Dmitri said that 2 men had captured you. Why would he do that if you're so harmless? Mariska says. Well, you're not very comfortable talking about it. but you think you should tell her the truth. Mariska says. Because I broke up. I wanted to go home, to Hungary. Vasilisa says. You're not allowed to. Mariska says. I can't, not until I've paid Tobuin back the interest on the truck. As usual, Vasilisa looks at you questioningly, not understanding what you're talking about. Vasilisa says. Don't worry, you'll have your freedom soon. Mariska says. Don't you ever lose that boundless optimism of yours, Vasilisa. Animation of a driving truck. Sacred Oak. The road winds past a hill topped by a huge, white oak with silvered leaves. Resource info: your fuel reserves diminish by 1. It's so big that not even the tallest pines reach its canopy. You stop for a moment to admire the view. Mariska says. Vasilisa says. It's an ancient oak. It's said that it was planted by the gods. You should collect some of its wood. It might protect us. You sigh. You've already got a full load. That said, here in the north a little wood to start a fire could be a life choice phase. Option 2: go towards the tree. Selecting this option will block the other options. It feels like you're the only people in the world. Choice Option 1: examine the tree. On the other side of the tree you see old branches broken off by the wind, buried in the snow. You touch them. They're damp. Choice phase. Option 2: pick up some branches from the ground. Selecting this option, its wood is still opalescent. No worries, it'll dry in the back of the truck. You feel ridiculous as you return to the Firebird. Mariska says. I found a branch, but it's soaked. Vasilisa says. You want to light a fire with it. Mariska says. What else would you use it for? Vasilisa says. You'll see. You set off on the road to the north. When you hear this sound, map opened. Animation of a driving truck. Sea of Ghosts. The road climbs to the top of a hill, from which the northern landscape stretches as far as the eye can see. Resource info: your fuel reserves diminish by 1. There's a flat plain and waves, not of water, but mist. An impenetrable fog. A misty ocean into which the road descends. Vasilisa hands you a mask made from white wood. She carved it from the branch of the great white tree. Vasilisa says. You should wear this, Mariska. Choice Option 2: put on the mask. Selecting this option will block the other choice phase. You adjust the mask. You can just about make out a smiling Vasilisa through the badly fitting eye holes. You feel stupid. Vasilisa says. We've taken too long. That's not fog. Those are and believe me, they hate you. Choice phase. Option 2: dive down into the sea. Mariska says. And why don't they hate you? Vasilisa. They won't know you are what you are with the mask. You shrug and hope. Choice phase. You turn on the ignition. The Firebird plunges into the fog. Vasilisa says. You nod under your mask. The fog. It's a mesmerizing spectacle. Thousands of workers stand 2 meters apart on either side of the road. They swing ghostly pickaxes at the ground, muttering a Russian chant from another century. Other workers are lined up alongside the ditches. Soldiers shoot them with a bullet in the neck before they rise to dig once more. You tremble so much that the fire. An army captain stands in the center of the road and demands you stop, which you do. He Captain says. Greetings, Comrades. Can you tell? Option 2. I imagine you're delivering supplies. We need them. Move along. As he speaks, you see that his fingers are frozen and end in icicles. You switch on the ignition and drive. The ghosts of the laborers surround you for so long it seems as if night has come and gone several times over. Finally, you come out the other side. You remove your mask, and you notice that a gust of wind has cleared the fog. Choice phase. Option 2. Where are we? Mariska says. Vasilisa, what was that? Vasilisa says. Ghosts. They tried to test you, but you resisted. Mariska says. But, you should have warned me we'd come. Vasilisa says. And what would that have achieved? You'd have thought I was just a crazy village girl. You're too shaken up to. Choice phase. Option 2. Continue your journey. The Firebird sets off on the last stage of the journey to the far north. When you map opened. Animation of a driving truck. Mariska says. I hope these pelts are worth it, damn it. Vasilisa. In the village, people talked about all the times when, in times of need, brave people came to help them. Mariska says. That was then. It was a time when we shared everything we had, but also the time we built the Road of Bones. Vasilisa says. I know you have a good heart, Mariska. Vasilisa. The white tiger pelts, they really do exist, right? Vasilisa says. It's a rare but fantastic sight. Mariska says. Vasilisa says. Really, Mariska? You want us to kill those rare and majestic creatures for you? Even though you don't show it often, I know just how kind you, and I also know that you'd find the distant sight of a white tiger at dawn far more joyful than all them on. Mariska says. Shut up. Vasilisa, you know nothing about me. Nothing. You believe in my good nature like children believe in Dedmoros. I stole a delivery from Turguin. Turguin is going to kill me for that. But I did it and you've been lying to me from the start. Nothing but problems. I feel completely alone. Totally abandoned by fate. Everyone has that little moment in their lives when they are finally rewarded for their suffering. I'm going to die out here in this white hell without ever receiving what's mine. Vasilisa says. You'll have your dues, Mariska. You're going to save a village. It's a noble mission that even few wealthy people will ever. Mariska says. It's not like I have enough fuel to turn around at this point anyway. Animation of a driving truck. Strange hut. Is this another hallucination? Resource info: your fuel reserves diminish by 1. In front of it stands a gas pump. The Firebird comes to a slow stop in front of the pump. Vasilisa says. Choice phase. Option 3. Hello. Anyone there? No answer. Choice phase. Option 2. Examine the house. A dead chicken hangs by the neck in front of the door. Damn country. You strain your ears. No sound, not even a bird. Option 1. Examine the pump. Mariska says. Are you telling me this gas station is haunted? Mariska says. Go on then. Mariska says. Hey, listen, Vasilisa says. Okay, so let's just say it's strange and that magical things are going to happen to us. Mariska. Choice phase. There's a sign on the pump. Mariska says. Choice phase. Option. You push the door open. It creaks. The cabin has a counter. Shriveled pelts hang on the walls. Century-old dried flowers hang from hooks on the ceiling. It smells of dust, rotten wood, and old people. It looks like no. Choice phase. Option 1. Hello. We'd like to use the gas. No answer. Mariska says. I'm stupid. Choice phase. Dried herbs and flowers, a cauldron full of holes, and a chimney that hasn't been used for over a century. The people here left in a hurry, and they must have had a good. Then, you hear a noise outside. Incredible. Another truck. Mariska says. Well. Option 1. Go to the truck. But you quickly lower your hand. It's the Grey Wolf, Ivan's truck. Ivan climbs out of the cab. Worryingly, so does Dimitri. And he has a gun. He loads it and points it at you. Dimitri says. Stop right there, girls. Don't move a muscle. Ivan checks that the cargo is still in the Firebird. Ivan says. It's fine, Dimitri, everything is there. Choice phase. Option 4. What are you planning to do with that gun, idiot? Option 3. Ivan, you too. Option 2. You drove all the way here from Zavodsk. Ivan says. How do you think we got here? In a rocket. Dimitri says. Because of you, Mariska says. Did you see strange things on the road? Dimitri says. An icy wind rustles some leaves, whispering ominously. Option 1. Come on. Mariska says. Ivan, you too. You look into Ivan's sorrowful eyes. Mariska says. I thought we had a deal. But I'm sure Toguin could change his mind, right, Dimitri? Dimitri says. Absolutely not. Toguin gave me one clear instruction, it's her head or yours, Ivan. It's up to you. The blood drains from Ivan's face. Dimitri says. Now let's all choice phase. Option. Mariska says. What are you planning to do with that gun, idiot? Ivan says. Give me the keys to the Firebird. Dimitri and I will return. Dimitri says. Screw that, Ivan. The truck and cargo will cover our costs. Ours. We need to bring her head to Toguin if we're going to calm him down. Vasilisa says. You're awful. Dimitri says. Welcome to Russia, choice phase. Option 2. Mariska says. Ivan, I'll give you the keys. Stop this idiot from making even more of a fool of him. Ivan catches your keys. You don't know how you're going to get back, but it's better than a hole through the stomach. Ivan says. Dimitri, we're good, let's go. Dimitri says. No. Ivan grabs Dimitri by the shoulder. Mariska says. You're a brave man. Dimitri says. You're on her side. Ivan says. You have her truck and her cargo. She'll never come back to Zavodsk. Dimitri lowers his gun. Mariska says. Who knows? Dimitri's eyes glow strangely. He murmurs something. Option 1. What did you say, Dimitri? Selecting this option will block the other options from being selected. Mariska says. What did you say, Dimitri? Dimitri says. I said, this place is Kosshi's realm. Vasilisa lets out a stifled cry of alarm. Ivan says. What? Dimitri lifts his gun and fires. The bullet hits you in the thigh. The pain is searing and visceral, making you stagger backwards. Ivan's voice sounds like it's coming from a million miles away as he speaks. Ivan says. Did you pass out? A drop of your blood falls to the ground. It strikes the earthen road with an impact like a meteor, and scarlet rivulets extend across the cracked ground like the aftermath of an explosion. The ghosts of dead and murdered laborers, Ruzalkas, errant knights and shapeless, black creatures from before the dawn of humanity slowly rise up. They approach you. You are hurt and afraid. Ivan puts your arm across his shoulders and carries you to the cabin as Dimitri's maniacal laughter rings out. He slams the door behind you. Choice phase. Option 1. Did you see them, Ivan? Mariska says. Ivan glances out the window. Ivan says. I saw them and I still see them. All the monsters are out. Mariska says. Tell me they're eating Dimitri. Ivan says. I don't want anyone to die, Mariska. You should feel the same. No, they're not eating him. They're dancing around him. Choice phase. Option 2. Has Dimitri gone mad? Option 3. We're all hallucinating. Selecting this option will block the other options. Mariska says. We're all hallucinating. You lean against the door, racked with pain. You've forgotten something, but your attention is grabbed by the fire in the fireplace. The dust is gone. A shiny pot gives off the scent of cut grass. The dried flowers on the ceiling are now full of life, and freshly caught rabbits hang from hooks. Mariska says. Aho. I smell human. Ivan says. Be careful, says. And 2 pure hearts have come to me. Option 2. I was here just a minute ago. Option 2. I was here just a minute ago, and everything was old, says. That's a nice way of saying that I'm young. Mariska says. Firebird. What have you forgotten? You're in a lot of pain, and very scared. You feel like you're missing something. Choice phase. Option 2. Be careful, Ivan, there are ghosts. The old woman approaches you and prods your wound with her stick, making you cry out in pain. Ivan says. There are no ghosts here. You made the blood flow. For thousands of years lives were sacrificed here, hoping to feed the land and bring about the return of the tyrant Koshi. All that was needed was a small drop of blood. And now we're all back. Option 1. Who are you? Mary says. Some call me the Snake Woman. She lifts her tunic, and you see that she stands on just one leg, the other is missing. Baba says. I am Baba Yaga. Ivan says. The one from the fairy tales. Baba says. The one from the prophecies. Choice phase. Option 2. Who is Koshi? Selecting this option will block the other options. The old woman walks back and forth, tapping the wooden floor with her cane. Baba Yaga says. He cares only for wealth and power and ruled over this cold land long before the dawn of man. Don't worry, you're of no interest to him. But you did bring him a little swan. He'll take her far to the north, to a place called the Black Ocean, and sacrifice her to Chenobog, the god of night, in order to receive his power. Little swan. But, Mariska says. Vasilisa. Vasilisa. Where is she? Ivan looks out the window. Ivan says. No idea. She's gone. Mariska says. No. No. Baba Yaga says. Koschei has taken him as his vessel in the land of the living. Choice phase. Option 2. Where is Vasilisa? Baba Yaga says. With Koschei. In his Option 1. Are we still in Russia? Baba Yaga says. You've always lived in a country which, for a short period in recent history, was called Russia. And you think you're human. But you, Mariska, and you Ivan, and all the others, you are all a precise part of the machine that is destiny. Choice phase. Option 1. And this is where you tell us how to kill Koschei, right? Baba Yaga says. What impertinence. Mariska says. I'm losing blood here. That terrible man is going to kill Vasilisa, and you want me to curtsy. Baba Yaga says. The people who came to Baba Yaga in the past showed nothing but the greatest respect. Baba Yaga looks at you. Choice phase. Option 2. Say something, Ivan. Ivan says. We need your help. I'm begging you. Baba Yaga says. Now there's a good young man. Good Ivan. You were a peasant, and you will be a prince. But never lose the humility you've shown here today. We're going to treat the wounded bird. You lean against a beam as you watch Ivan take a huge cauldron from over the fire and fill it with water from an indoor well. Baba Yaga grabs a mortar and pestle. Baba Yaga says. Give me the sage. Ivan turns towards you, looking haggard. Choice phase. Option 1. Show. Baba Yaga crushes the plant and adds some mysterious herbs before scraping the mixture into the cauldron. Mariska says. You really think I'm going to take a bath in a witch's cauldron? Baba Yaga says. You'll die if you don't. Choice phase. You sigh, undress as little as possible, and step into the water. The hot water feels wonderful. But that's not all. You feel really good. Mariska says. Okay. If you're going to eat me, Grandma, then I've got no regrets. This bath really is to die for. Ivan says. I wanna take a bath in there too. Mariska says. Ivan, not now. Baba Yaga says. You both need to wash anyway. This bath will purify you and protect you against the weaker spirits. Ivan doesn't hesitate, undressing quickly and diving into. Baba Yaga says. Koschei is in the north. Mariska says. Everything is in the north. Baba Yaga says. Beyond the river of fire. Ivan says. We could also go back. Mariska says. And how do I cross this river of fire? With my magical truck. Baba Yaga says. You need to cross the Goldarose Bridge. Mariska says. Baba Yaga says. Don't confront Koschei before you have his soul. Ivan says. I don't understand any. Mariska says. Yes, his soul, of course. Mariska says. I think she's losing her mind. And then everything turns black. Strange hut. You wake up. You and Ivan are wandering near the cabin, out in the freezing cold. The phantoms and there is nothing but the wilderness, the silence barely broken by the flight of a distant bird. You're stunned and confused. Choice phase. The Firebird is there. Ivan says. Dimitri took the grey wolf. The old woman's hut is there too. The dead chicken in front of the door is gone. Option 1 look at the. Option 3 come on Ivan, let's go. Option 1 look at the ground. The tracks from Ivan's truck lead north. Choice phase. Option 2 come on Ivan, let's go. He throws you your keys. Ivan says. Choice phase. Mariska says. To the north. Ivan seems to think deeply for. Ivan says. Why north? Mariska. Ivan says. And there's a dangerous man inside. Let's leave it. Ivan says. I can get an. Option 1 we're going to save Vasilisa. Ivan nods. How brave. He doesn't even know the girl. You try one last time to extract some gas from the pump in front of the hut. Bingo. Not only does it work, it's also rather generous. Resource in for your fuel reserves grow by 3. When you hear this sound, press the right trigger or the letter A. Animation of a driving truck. Ivan says. Mariska says. Ivan says. Anyway, do you think the price of milk will keep going up? Piotr says we should stock up. Piotr says that the govern. Mariska says. Ivan. I don't want to talk about food. I need a bit of quiet. Ivan says. But. Is this the frozen brains? Mariska says. Of course. Ivan says. Mariska says. They influenced even the most well-known bands. Ivan says. You've gotta be their only fan, Mariska. Mariska says. Vasilisa loves them too. Ivan grabs your CD from the dashboard. He stares at the case for a few seconds, lost in thought. Ivan says. I remember when I was a teen, I listened to them all the time while I ate my mom's sushis. They were so good. Mariska says. Ivan says. Oh, we said we wouldn't talk about food. Sorry. Mariska says. It's nothing. I'm the one who's sorry, it's all my fault. Ivan says. We'll make it, Mariska. I can't prove it to you, but I'm sure we will. Mariska says. Let's keep going. Animation of a driving truck. River of Fire. The Firebird seems to glide along the road. The tall pines lean strangely. Resource in for your fuel reserves diminish by 1. Something north of you flickers, then blazes brightly. A fire. You stop in front of a river of fire. Choice phase. Option 2 cross the river. Selecting this option will block. You switch on the ignition and push forward. Firebird plunges into the fiery liquid. It wasn't an illusion. Game over. Game over. Continue. You stop in front of a river of fire. Choice phase. Dumbfounded, you drive up to a river that pulses with light like the coals in a grill. Ivan says. Lava. It's definitely a river, snaking through the trees and cutting across the road to the north. And liquid fire really does flow through it. It's burning hot. Plants that fall into the current are immediately consumed. Option. You drive 100 meters before finding a strange wooden bridge. It's made of small brown stalks. While it's wide enough to allow the Firebird to pass, you get the feeling that it might break under the weight of something much lighter. Choice phase. Option. You wonder how it's even able to stay standing. Ivan says. It's Golderose. Mariska says. You a botanist or something, Ivan? Ivan says. The old woman asked me for Golderose for your bath. Home. A Golderose bridge. Option. Ivan says. Are you sure about this? Mariska says. You can stay here if you want. Ivan says nothing, but stays. You slowly cross the bridge made of slim wooden stalks. It takes the weight. Yet another mystery. You get back on the road. When you hear this sound, press the right animation of a driving truck. Ivan says. My mom will never believe me when I tell her about this. Mariska says. When you tell her about what? Ivan says. That I went so far north. Mariska says. Wait, what? Out of everything that's happened to us, that's the part you think she won't believe. The river of fire, Baba Yaga, the fog. What would she think of all that? Ivan imitates the quavering voice of an old. Ivan says. I told you to never go so far away. You never listened to me. Like that time I said you couldn't have more than 3 sushkis as a snack. And what about Mariska? Doesn't she want some of my sushkis? Mariska says. Gladly. Ivan says. Ivan, go get her some. The poor child, she never asks for anything. Mariska says. Thank you, they're delicious. Crunch, crunch. I'm glad to see you're doing better. You can tell by the quality of your cookies, they're perfect. Ivan says. Take care of this big lump, when you two head back north. He's an angel, but he needs to realize he can fly on his own. Mariska says. You can count on me. You know, Ivan is so giving. Ivan says. Really? Mariska says. Of course, Ma. I'd be asleep at the wheel without your impressions of your mother. Ivan says. And you haven't even seen my impression of you yet. Turguin and Dimitri love it. Mariska says. Great. I think I'll pass on that. Animation of a driving truck. Castle Gateway. The earthen road is paved with huge stone slabs engraved with mysterious runes. Resource info: your fuel reserves diminish by 1. The trees are carefully spaced, forming majestic avenues of oaks as tall as hills. And then you see it, a huge, impossible structure. It rises from the landscape like a claw, blacker than night, silhouetted against the starry sky. Ivan says. Kosshi's castle. Choice phase. You stop in front of the castle and knock on the door. You're not alone. A crowd of spirits, knights, Soviet soldiers, shamans, man-like beasts, and shapeless specters moves in your direction. They all converge on the castle in a slow procession, accompanied by solemn chants. The paved road leads right up to the castle's 2 open doors. You make out a huge, gilded throne. Choice phase. You advance through the phantoms cautiously, Ivan trembling with fear. In front of you, a tall, proud-looking woman with gilded mail armor and a spear at her side carefully scans the crowd. Her eyes meet yours. She shakes her head no slightly. Option. The woman in the gilded armor takes you by the arm and stares deeply into your eyes. Option 3. Do we know each other? Mariska says. Do we know each other? You do feel like you know each other, somehow. Option 1 we can't go. Option 2 is this. You break her grip and enter the palace. The spirits are denser and more numerous here. You hear Dimitri's twisted voice booming in the distance. Koschei says. Smells like human. Get them. They fall upon you and you lose consciousness. Permanently. Game over. Game over. Continue. In front of you, at all. She shakes her head no slightly. Option 1 we can't go any further, says. Everyone is invited to the king's court. But do you really want to meet him? Amid all his subjects. Ivan says. You are a wise young man. Option 2 do we know each other? Mariska says. Is this really Koschei's castle? Says. King Koschei's castle. I should cut off your head for such disrespect. Ivan says. Are you going to do it? Says. An execution on coronation day. Choice phase. Option 1. Mariska says. Do we know each other? You stare. You do feel like you know each other, somehow. Option 1 you serve Koschei. Mariska says. He is the king. And option 2 Mariska says. You don't like Koschei. Says. We fought each other in the past. I won. Today it's his turn. Long live the king. Ivan says. Maria says. My name is Maria Marevna. No army can stand in my way. And tomorrow, it will be I who leads the most powerful king's army to conquer the south. I can't tell you too much, otherwise I'll have to stop you for good. My last piece of advice to you, turn back now. She looks behind her nervously. Choice phase. Option 2 is it danger? Mariska says. I'm looking for an egg. Maria sighs and looks behind the castle. Maria says. Over there. There's an island. You'll find what you're looking for there. Good luck. She resumes her position and ignores you. Choice phase. You escape the procession. When you hear this sound, map opened. Island. A dark river runs behind the elusive form of the castle. An island topped by a white oak lies across the river. Ivan says. It's completely dark. Do you have a light? Turn back towards the ghosts, to the Firebird, to look for some light. Choice phase. Option 2 go towards the island. You grit your teeth and return to the Firebird. Your flashlight. You return with 3 expired flares, but that's all you've got. Option 1 go towards the island. Selecting this option will block the other options from being selected. The dark waters part before you and you walk to the island across the dry riverbed. On the island, the white oak seems to struggle against the darkness. Choice phase. Option 2 look at the oak. Option 2 look at the oak. At the heart of the trunk, a crevice. Your flare shines brightly in the darkness. Option 1 light. You reach in. There's a chest. You grab it. Ivan says. Mariska, look. The king, he looks like Dimitri. Choice phase. You snap the second flare, lighting the darkness. Your flare is blinding. Choice phase. Option 2 open the chest. Inside is a strange sculpture, a plump wooden hair. Ivan says. The old woman mentioned an egg. We're agreed this isn't an egg, Mariska says. She was crazy. But there's no shortage of that in this nightmare. Choice phase. Option 3 Speak to the hare. Option 4 Break the hare statue. You throw it against the tree trunk. It breaks into two, revealing a duck skull. Mariska says. A matryoshka. Ivan says. Mariska says. We have a duck. I guess it's closer to an egg than a hare is. Choice phase. Option 1. Mariska says. Come on, save us. Your flare is blinding. Option 1 Break the duck. An egg rolls to the ground. Ivan says. Mariska says. I've never been so happy. Mariska says. No. Keep it. Choice phase. You venture once more into the hissing shadows, throwing your flare into the river for good measure. When you hear this sound, map opened. Castle. You shoot Ivan a knowing look. It's time to settle things. And this time, you have an egg. You walk by Maria Marevna again, your eyes meeting as you pass. Maria says. When you hear this sound, press the right trigger. Kosshii's palace. You enter the palace, where everything seems to be made of gold, the mirror frames, the dishes, even the furniture. The spirits are denser and more numerous here. Koshii says. Smells like human. The spirits retreat and you find yourself face to face with Koshii on his throne. Choice phase. Option 2 Are you Koshii? Option 1 Look at Koshii. He's a tall, skeletal old man, wearing tarnished golden armor and leaning on a large sword. And yet, you can see Dimitri's features somewhere underneath. Choice phase. Option 1. Mariska says. It smells more like eggs. Rotten eggs. You lift the egg above your head. Koshii huddles back onto his throne. The spirits are agitated. Some begin to leave the hall. Koshii says. The old woman helped you. Of course. But wait. You could kill me. My spirit would once again wander these lands and reform itself. You could also join me. I hate this civilized world, and I am going to conquer it. You could lead it, and report to me. Choice phase. Option 1. Mariska says. Where is Vasilisa? You strengthen your grip on the egg. Koshii says. Don't break the egg. The girl is. Koshii says. My servants have taken her to the end of the world, in the farthest north, where she will be sacrificed to bring Chinot. Option 1 Queen of Russia. Mariska says. The time of kings in Russia is long gone. You break the egg by closing your fist, and black blood runs down your arm. Koshii rises, fighting against death, and collapses at the foot of his throne. A dark wind sweeps through the palace, and in an instant, the glittering throne room becomes an abandoned old concrete building in the far north. In place of Koshii's body lies Dimitri's. Choice phase. Option 1 Ivan, check if he's still alive. Mariska says. Ivan, check. Ivan says. Mariska. Mariska. But no one deserves to die before their time. We'll come back to bury you. Option 1 Return to the fire. You return to the Firebird. When you hear this sound, map opened. Animation of a driving truck. You race over flat, roadless terrain that Celestial sheets of green and blue light play across the infinite northern sea. Ivan says, "Look. There's a village surrounded by a few pine trees. Next, shabby houses of mud and wood twinkle with a reassuring light. But you don't turn left. You swallow your worried tears and continue north." Animation of a driving truck. You've reached the northern tip of Russia. Resource info. You travel downwards. Choice phase. Option: huge green aurora borealis dance overhead, almost close enough to touch. These great phenomena slowly converge on the bright glow in the sea to the north. Option 1: look at the sea. It's an expanse of infinite black water, an ocean of nothingness. Huge icebergs float beyond the rolling waves like ethereal ships. In the north, a glowing wave of yellow, orange, and green light flickers like an illusion. Choice phase. Option 3: look at the glow. There's some sort of coastline. Ivan says. Is there land over there? Mariska says. Not normally, no. Choice phase. Option 1: look at the beach. Grey sand and pebbles, almost indistinguishable from the sea. Nameless, half-dead plants. Who would have believed that the northernmost edge of the continent would be so gloomy? So plain. Option. The sand crunches under your feet. You cast about for a solution. Ivan falls behind you. He tripped over a rock. Choice phase. Option 2: look at the rock. It's a half-buried piece of wood. Choice phase. Option 2: dig up the plank. You dig with your hands. Ivan says. What are you doing, Mariska? Mariska. And the solution appears. The plank is the end of a poor fishing boat lost out here. Choice phase. Option 2: push the boat into the water. Selecting this option will block the other options from. You row in silence. The glow brightens. When you hear this sound, map opened. Animation of Mariska and Ivan crossing the sea in a boat. City of the Gods. It's a city of light, out on the water. The end of the world. The option. You row towards an engraved stone pier, where fish made of light and evanescent phantoms roam. Ivan gulps, clearly terrified. You disembark. Choice. Option 1: look at the city. Option 2: look at the floating palanquin. The boat is at the pier, empty. They're somewhere in the city. Option 1: look at the city. It's a huge from it rise structures of light, homes, businesses, and figures both human and monstrous, nonchalantly roaming. Choice phase. Phantoms press towards the altar. You walk through them like mist. At the top of a flight of steps, Kosshi's ghost brandishes a sword of ice over Vasilissa's prone body. Mariska says. Kosshi says. Yes. But I never really die. Especially when I am about to become the chosen one of Chernobyl. Ivan says. Clearly was worth the trouble. Option 2: don't you dare touch Vasilissa. So, if you do, I'll find a way to kill you all over again. Kosshi says. Mariska says. Fine words from someone I've already killed once. Kosshi says. Well said. Maria Marevna plotted against me. I will deal with her. Do Ivan says. We're truckers, old man. Koschei says. Choice phase. Option 2 please, give her. Option 2 please. Option 2 please, give her to me. We can talk afterwards. Koschei says. I rescind my offer, you are no general. Wrathful, Koschei commands his ghostly legion to attack. The phantoms pass through you in vain, then you feel a tingle. A gust of invisible wind buffets you and throws you towards the icy black wall. Main menu. Continue. Choice phase. Option 2 Don. If you do, I'll find a way. Mariska says. Koschei says. Ivan says. Choice phase. Option 1 I beg. Option 3 you don't scare me. We'll put an end to your reign, you evil creature. Koschei. When Chernobyl awakes, I'll become the king of kings. Mariska says. I don't care about. Koschei says. Stop this blasphemy, you insu. Koschei says. How dare you? You're going to regret saying that. Koschei pierces Vasilissa's body with his sword, which passes through her like a ghost. But there's no time to think about it. Like a nebulous mass, the sea swells upwards, an immense tsunami speckled with constellations. Larger than the world itself, Chernobyl, god of night, turns a huge, terrifying eye in your direction. Choice phase. Option 1 Look at Chernobyl. Broad as the sky and black as the void, a robe of stars and an eye that pierces through to your very soul. His shadow is freezing, an ancient, everlasting cold. Ivan says. Koschei says. Yes. Great god of night. Choice phase. Option 1 Look at Vasilissa. Option 3 God of night, I'm not scared of you. Chernobyl says. Brave woman. We may differ in appearance, but we both have good hearts. Koschei says. Don't listen, Lord. Chernobyl says. I read your heart and see that your intention was not for me to breathe the salt spray and heady resin, wild game and stones. Speak. Koschei says. I want to see you conquer the world. I want to lead your armies. Chernobyl is silent. Choice phase. Option 2 Ivan, leave. Option 2 Ivan, leave me. Mariska says. Was it worth it to kill Vasilissa? Chernobyl says. You killed someone to summon me here. Koschei says. Lord, there was no other way. Chernobyl says. Waiting was another way. Koschei says. I waited for 10,000 years, Lord. Chernobyl says. Is 10,000 years really so long for a god? Koschei says. Chernobyl says. You possess none of the qualities that would make you my equal. Choice phase. Option 3 God of night. Mariska says. God of night, don't listen to Koschei. He wants to hurt everyone. Koschei shouts, but his words are muffled by the night. Chernobyl says. And you, short-lived girl, what do you ask? Mariska says. What? Chernobyl says. The most ancient of all the gods is before you. He can do anything. You're stunned. You've never even conceived of such a situation. Mariska says. Chernobyl says. I look forward to the day that someone asks something of me that I cannot give. Choice phase. Option 2, I want to be Option 2, I want to be free of worries. Selecting this option will block the other. My life has been nothing but trials. Chinobug says. Young woman, do you know anyone of worth who has not undergone trials in their life? Mariska says. No, but I'd like to be one of them. Chinobug says. Your head is spinning. You fall asleep. You sink into a deliciously deep and dreamless eternal slumber. Game over. Game over. Larger than the world itself, Chinobug, god of night. Option. She is inanimate, diaphanous, almost transparent. You came so far, only for it to come to this. A huge god towers over you, but all you can see is her. Option. You climb the steps as the ghosts prostrate themselves before the god of night. Vasilissa's body is cold and still. You take her in your arms as you fight back a sob. The god of night's eye is watching you. Choice phase. Broad as the sky and black as the void, a robe of stars and an eye that pierces through to your very soul. His shadow is freezing, an ancient, everlasting cold. Ivan says. Koschei says. Yes. Great god of night. Come to us, your faithful servants. Choice phase. Option 1, Ivan, leave me and save. Mariska says. Ivan, leave me and save yourself. Chinobug says. I have no intention of doing harm here. Koschei says. And yet, Lord, they are human. Chinobug says. I am not a god of evil. Koschei says. But. Chinobug says. And like the night, I embrace, and I protect. I am peace. I am sleep. The wise voice in dreams. Choice phase. Option 1, god of night, I'm not scared of you. Chinobug says. Brave woman. We may differ in appearance, but we both have good hearts. Koschei says. Chinobug says. I read your heart and see that your intention was not for me to breathe the salt spray and heady resin, wild game and stones. Speak. Koschei says. Chinobug is silent. Option 1. Mariska says. Was it worth? Koschei says. Koschei says. Koschei says. Choice phase. Option 1, god of. He won. Koschei shouts, but his. Mariska says. What? You're stunned. You've never even conceived of such a. Chinobug says. I look forward to the day that someone asks. Option 2. Mariska says. Bring Vasilissa. Have you no other desires? Koschei. Chinobug breathes out, and the resulting breeze disintegrates Koschei's spirit into dust. Next it is Vasilissa's body that dissolves, leaving your arms in a haze of soft. Someday he will be as virtuous as he has been wicked today. Mariska says. That could take a long time, in my opinion. Chinobug says. I have time. I'm a god. Young woman, the gods do not answer your prayers because they are waiting for you to all become virtuous. I see the good in you. Mariska says. Does that mean you'll bring Vasilissa back to life? Chinobug says. You'll find her in her village. Choice phase. Mariska says. Thank you. The fog envelops you. Septentrion. The night has dissipated along with your memories, and a huge, benevolent hand Choice phase. Option 2. Get into the Firebird. Selecting this option will block the other options from being selected. You turn the ignition. It purrs. The fuel gauge is full. Choice phase. Option 2. Go to Vasilissa's village. Selecting this option will block. When you hear this sound, press the right trigger or the animation of a driving truck. Vasilissa's village. The few small. You stop in front of a permafrost track never touched by a single tire. Villagers dressed in traditional outfits approach you with caution. Choice phase. Option 2. Get out. Selecting this option will block the other. Mariska says. Does anyone here speak Russian? An old man approaches. Chief says. I've traded with Russians before. That's a truck, right? Choice. Option 1. Mariska says. What were you trading? Chief says. The Russians wanted to build a road. They needed meat and fish to feed those poor workers. It was a sad time. I don't want to think about it. Ivan says. You think of white tigers, and keep the thought to yourself. Option 1. You've never seen a truck before. Chief says. Stay back. Some children dare to touch your truck, then Chief says. We've also seen planes in the sky, and sometimes very long, black ships on the horizon. Choice phase. Option 1. Yes, we wish you well. The chief embraces you. Chief says. In the north, we're all brothers and Ivan says. I like that. I've never had a brother. Everyone crowds around you. You smile. Mariska. Choice phase. We've brought you food. The chief asks you to repeat your. He doesn't believe you and opens the back of your truck. Adults and heads of families begin to sob. A woman. Chief says. But how did you know we had lost all our reserves? Option 1. Mariska says. Vasilissa came to find us. Incredulous, the chief makes you repeat yourself. Cries of jubilation ring out and tears of joy run as Vasilissa's name is repeated over and over again. Choice phase. Mariska says. Vasilissa. Now the whole village will want to thank her. Choice phase. Mariska says. The old man. A silent procession forms behind you. You arrive before a great stone monolith, carved with a stylized swan. Chief says. Vasilissa, protector of our village, we thank you. We'll survive. Choice phase. A small animal sacrifice, some flowers. And then you see them. Old rubles, the worn, torn bills that Vasilissa handed you. The same bills are here, resting at the foot of the stone. Option 1. Examine the monolith. Vasilissa was this village's guardian goddess. But you saw her with your. Choice phase. Mariska says. The ancient. Vasilissa is real. Mariska says. I meant to say. I saw her with. Ivan says. Mariska. Choice phase. Option 1. Pray. You kneel in the ice. perfect snowflake. Vasilisa. You try to find the words. Should you thank her the way you would thank a god? Should you ask her for something in the same way you might ask something of the gods? Vasilisa. I miss you. And thank you for everything. You stand up, drying your tears. Choice option 1. Leave. Selecting this option will block the other options from being selected. Chief says. We have food now. We'd like to prepare a small celebration for you. Mariska says. I'm sorry, old man. There's too many bad memories here. My heart is heavy, and I need to travel a few thousand kilometers to feel better. You leave via a dirt track. Does your life really have a purpose beyond the affairs of the gods? Ivan says. Where are we going? Mariska says. Zavodsk. It's home. Ivan says. Choice phase. Option 2. I have faith. I know Vasilisa will protect us. Ivan says. You have faith. What does that mean? That Turguin is magically going. Ivan, you don't have a truck anymore. So let's go into business together. Mariska says. This region is dangerous. But it needs people like us. Ivan says. In Zavodsk you used to talk about the Caribbean. Mariska says. I give up the tropical blue seas in exchange for these endless white plains. Ivan says. My mother. Mariska says. We'll visit your mother every now and again. We'll bury Dmitri. Ivan says. There aren't. Mariska says. We'll help. This life will make us happy. It's not money we're lacking, but everything that it could bring us, and we can find it here. Not just food, warmth, or fuel. Responsibility. Nature. Spirituality. Solidarity. Recognition. Love. Selflessness. Ivan says. Grand sentiments and nothing in our pockets.